Welcome to the deep dive. We dig through the sources, pull out what matters, and basically give you the inside track so you're totally up to speed.
Yep, that's the plan.
Today, we're zooming in on someone with just incredible range. An actor, a singer, Mandy Patinkin.
Right. And our mission today really is to look beyond those characters we all know,
Sure.
like Inigo Montoya, Saul Berenson, Che from Evita. We want to get at the foundations. What makes him tick? What are those core beliefs?
Because there's this pattern, isn't there? A thing where he walks away from huge success, like massive, undeniable hits.
Exactly. For principles, for something deeper, these ethical lines he just won't cross. That's what's so fascinating.
When you first look at his career, it's just,
Yeah.
wow. The contrast is amazing. You've got this Tony-winning Broadway voice, working with legends like Sondheim and Weber.
A giant musical theater.
And then, bam, he's this cult movie icon because of The Princess Bride, Inigo Montoya.
Unforgettable. And then he shifts again, a third act almost. He becomes this incredibly serious, dramatic anchor on TV, Saul Berenson in Homeland.
Yeah, the moral compass of the show, kind of.
It's so rare, isn't it, to successfully conquer all three of those worlds? Big Broadway musicals, iconic film roles, and that complex, long-form prestige TV drama. Very few people manage that.
Absolutely. And what makes Patinkin so compelling, it's not just that he did it, but how. The choices he made.
Yeah.
Especially leaving those two massive TV shows. That's what we really need to unpack.
Those moments, those exits, they tell you so much about his integrity. You have to understand the origins, the ethical thinking to really get Patinkin.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The foundations.
Right. So it all starts in Chicago. He was born Mandel Bruce Patinkin, November 30th, 1952. And the sources, they make it really clear his background wasn't just, a detail. It was everything. The spiritual, the cultural bedrock for what came later.
Grew up in an upper-middle-class family, descendants of Polish-Jewish immigrants, and raised conservative Jewish. Seems really central.
Oh, completely central. I wasn't casual. We're talking intense immersion.
Yeah, the details are pretty striking. Attending religious school daily. From age 7 to, 13 or 14?
Daily, plus singing in synagogue choirs. Think about that deep, everyday connection to the culture, the prayers, the liturgy, and the music. Absolutely crucial.
You can totally see how that feeds into his later concert career, right?
Yeah.
And dedicating that whole album, Mama Lotion, to Yiddish songs. It wasn't just like a whim.
Not at all. It feels earned, authentic, necessary even. It comes directly from that upbringing.
And the family context itself is interesting. His dad, Lester Don Patinkin, ran two big metal factories.
Yeah, People's Iron and Metal, Scrap Corporation of America. So there's this industrial business side, hard work, rigor.
But then his mom, Dorley Patinkin, she wrote Grandma Dorley Patinkin's Jewish Family Cookbook, preserving the culture, the traditions.
Exactly. It's that duality again. Practical drive from his father, cultural depth, and, artistic sensibility from his mother. It's a really potent mix. You can kind of see how that might shape someone with his later professional discipline.
There's also a really significant tragedy in this period. His father's death.
Yes, that's huge. Lester died from pancreatic cancer in 1972. Mandy was only, 19 or 20?
Devastating.
Yeah.
And the sources suggest this wasn't just personal grief. It fundamentally shifted his outlook.
You can imagine. Losing a parent that young, it often instills this sense of urgency. Like, life is short. You have to live authentically now. Make the time count.
And you see that urgency later, right? When he leaves Chicago, hopes specifically to be with his own family, it feels connected. Like he learned early on about the value of that time.
Absolutely. It seems like maybe that was the first big event that really wired him to value integrity, family, over just career success or money.
So, okay, he has this drive, this background, and then comes the formal training. South Shore High School, Kenwood Academy, graduated in 1970. A bit of time at the University of Kansas.
And then the big one, Juilliard, the drama division, Group 5. He was there from 72 to 76.
Right. That's where the raw talent and that emotional urgency meet serious, hardcore discipline.
Oh, yeah. Juilliard's reputation. It's not just a school, it's a crucible, right? Forging stage performers. That voice, that physical command he had on Broadway, that's honed there.
And there's that great little tidbit about his class at Juilliard, Group 5, one of his classmates.
Kelsey Grammer.
Yes, which is just amazing on its own. But the story gets better.
It does, because when the producers of Cheers were looking for someone to play Dr. Fraser Crane,
Patinkin recommended Grammer. He put his name forward.
think about that. Patinkin, already making his way, helps a classmate land a role that becomes I mean, Frasier Crane, one of the most iconic TV characters ever.
It's wild. It tells you something about him, doesn't it? Not ruthlessly competitive, maybe? Valuing talent, connection, generosity.
Yeah, maybe something fostered in that intense, close-knit Juilliard environment. But whatever the reason, it's a fascinating what if. That little suggestion had a massive impact on TV history.
So, okay. He's got the background, the drive, the world-class training, even this generous spirit. He hits the New York stage, and he's ready.
Totally ready. And he makes an impact pretty quickly.
Mid-70s, he's on the New York stage.
Yeah.
And his debut, in 75, it's alongside Meryl Streep and John Lithgow.
Right, in Trelawney of the Wells.
Yeah.
Already an incredible company. Tells you something about his caliber right out of the gate.
But the real explosion, the role that puts him on the map in a huge way, that's Evita, 1979.
Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's show. He's playing Chi, the narrator, opposite Patti LuPone as Eva Perón.
And I mean, what a role. He's the commentator, the critic, kind of cynical revolutionary. Watches her whole rise. It's a massive part, vocally, intellectually.
Requires incredible energy, and it just launched him. Critics loved him. He won the Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical.
What do the reviews say?
Walter Kerr at the New York Times called him vigorous. James Lardner, Washington Post, said he gave a sympathetic, consistent, and rather sweet performance. Which is interesting for Che, right? So he brought humanity to this potentially harsh role.
So Evita makes him a star. A Broadway force.
Yeah.
Voice, intelligence, the whole package.
Definitely. But then comes his work with Stephen Sondheim, and that arguably cements his legacy in a different way as this titan of, like, intellectual musical theater.
This is deeper than just performance, you're saying?
Yeah, it feels like it's about embodying the whole artistic philosophy of Sondheim himself.
We're talking Sunday in the Park with George.
Yeah.
1984.
Right. Playing the dual roles. George is Seurat, the pointillist painter in Act 1, and then his fictional great-grandson George in Act 2, opposite Bernadette Peters. It's a musical about art, about creation, about dedication.
He got a Tony nomination for Best Actor for that one. But there was this really insightful, critical take on it.
Frank Rich, New York Times. Yeah, this was a key piece of analysis. Rich basically argued that Patinkin's Seurat, that intense focus, the command, the almost scientific way he builds the painting point by point.
It was like a stand-in for Sondheim himself.
Exactly. For Sondheim's own fierce, methodical, intellectual precision in how he wrote music and lyrics. So Patinkin wasn't just playing an artist. He was embodying the composer's spirit. The rigor, the structure, the focus.
That's fascinating. And you can see that thread, right? That ability to portray intense, methodical thinking. It connects to Saul Berenson later on, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It shows an actor who really gets inside the intellectual weight of a character, not just the emotion.
And thankfully, we can actually see this performance.
Yes. He left the show for a bit in '84, but came back in '85, and they filmed it for American Playhouse, which is huge. Otherwise, that specific performance, that definitive take on Seurat, might have been lost. It's a crucial piece of theater history.
He didn't stop there on Broadway, of course. He was Lord Archibald Craven in The Secret Garden in '91.
And he replaced the original lead, Michael Rupert, as Marvin in Falsettos in '93. Another complex, demanding role.
And even later, in 2000, he's back, starring as Burrs in Michael John Lacuse's The Wild Party.
Got his second Best Actor Tony nomination for that. So, yeah, 2 decades after Evita, still at the absolute top of his game on Broadway.
And we have to mention the concert career, because that feels so connected to his roots, the synagogue singing.
Totally. The solo albums like Mandy Patinkin in Concert, Dress Casual, and especially Mama Lotion, the Yiddish album we mentioned.
That wasn't just singing old songs, right? There was more to it.
Oh, much more. It was an act of cultural preservation. We'll probably touch on that again later, but it's fundamental to understanding him.
Plus, he reunited with Patti LuPone for that concert series in 2011. An Evening with Patti LuPone and Mandy Patinkin. Sold-out run.
Yeah, even outside of a traditional show structure, he could create these major theatrical events. He really is an institution in that world.
Okay, so while he's basically conquering Broadway, Hollywood starts calling. And cinema demands something, well, a bit different.
Right. And ironically, his first big film success asked him to use every skill except that amazing voice.
Okay, so film roles. For a lot of people maybe who don't follow Broadway as closely, this is where they know Patinkin from.
Yeah, definitely. And his early film success really ties back to his cultural roots again. That was Yentl, Barbra Streisand's film, in 1983. He played Avigdor.
And got a Golden Globe nomination for it. Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy.
And making that film sounds like it was a pretty deep experience for him. He talked about Streisand working to make him comfortable, despite her huge stardom. But more than that, he really dove into the world of the character.
How so?
He actually spent a couple of weeks studying the Talmud at a yeshiva in Jerusalem to prepare.
Wow. That's commitment. That's that intellectual rigor again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just learning lines, but immersing himself in the spiritual and academic context.
Classic Patinkin. Total dedication to authenticity, way beyond typical Hollywood prep.
But the irony, the big irony of Yentl.
Right. Critics like Richard Corliss at Time magazine pointed this out. Here's Mandy Patinkin with this crystalline Broadway tenor, the voice that won him a Tony for Evita.
And Streisand doesn't have him sing a note in the movie?
Not a single note. It's kind of amazing. A huge missed opportunity, you could argue.
Did critics still like him in it, though?
Yeah. Corliss said when Patinkin was on screen, it was hard to look at anyone else, even Streisand. He just excelled at playing these profound, passionate men of action.
Speaking of passionate men of action.
Exactly. Now we get to the role that basically made him immortal in pop culture.
Inigo Montoya, The Princess Bride, 1987. Rob Reiner's classic.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
It's just perfect. That role, the best swordsman, seeking revenge, it needed that stage discipline, that physical command, but also this burning sense of justice.
And it became instantly iconic. Not just the line, which IGN ranked as one of the best movie moments ever, but the whole character. There's comedy, yeah, but it works because he plays the sincerity, the mission, absolutely straight.
Variety loved him in it.
Right.
Said he was a joy to watch, and the film comes to life when he's on screen.
Totally. It's amazing how he took that stage intensity and focused it into the cinematic role that's fundamentally about, well, moral clarity, getting justice.
He did other memorable film work, too, of course.
Yeah.
Showing his reign.
Definitely. He was Tate, the immigrant artist, in Ragtime back in '81. He was 88 Keys, the piano player, in Dick Tracy in 1990.
And you played Quasimodo in that TV movie of The Hunchback in '97 with Salma Hayek. The New York Times called him gentle and quite moving in that.
Yeah, very different energy. And then much later, voicing Papa Smurf in Smurfs, The Lost Village in 2017. So, he covered a lot of ground.
But he brought that same intensity, that commitment to all of it, whether it was Broadway or film or Papa Smurf.
True. But it's really in television, serialized TV, where you commit for years, that his integrity faced the biggest tests, the real high-stakes choices.
Yeah, this is where the pattern really emerges. The moral crossroads, hashtag take for your V, the television years and the moral crossroads.
Okay, this section is crucial because this is where that integrity we keep talking about becomes really concrete, like costing him jobs, big ones.
First major TV success, Dr. Jeffrey Geiger and Chicago Hope. That medical drama on CBS started in 1994.
And he was fantastic in it. Won the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series right away in '95. The show was a hit. He was the star, the driving force, really.
And then he left after just 2 seasons.
Yep. Right at the peak of its initial success, he walked away.
And the reason why is so telling, right? It sets the stage for later choices. Why did he leave?
He said he was deeply unhappy about spending so much time away from his wife, Catherine Grody, and their 2 young sons.
So it was purely personal. Family first.
Exactly. Think about that calculation. Giving up a starring role, an Emmy-winning role on a hit network show for time with family, that's a massive professional sacrifice for a personal, ethical belief about what matters most.
He did come back briefly later, didn't he?
Yep.
In '99.
He did, for a short time. But that initial decision to leave, that really shows his willingness to draw a line and force a boundary, regardless of the career cost.
Okay, so that's the first big exit. Then comes the next major TV project, and maybe the most dramatic crossroads of all.
Criminal Minds, another CBS show, this one a crime drama. He plays supervisory special agent Jason Gideon, kind of the intellectual, experienced anchor of the FBI's behavioral analysis unit. Started in 2005.
And again, huge hit right out of the gate. Patinkin is the established star leading the team.
But history repeats itself, sort of, but for very different reasons this time. He leaves abruptly, before season 3 even starts filming.
This wasn't about family time, though. This was darker.
Much darker. It was about creative differences, yes, but really a deep, profound moral objection to the actual content of the show.
Leaving a hit show like that, especially so suddenly, I mean, that's often seen as career suicide, isn't it?
Absolutely. He knew it. He apparently left apologetic letters for his castmates explaining his reasons, knowing the disruption it would cause.
Do we know what he said about it? His reasoning?
Yes, and his direct quotes are incredibly powerful. He called signing on to Criminal Minds his biggest public mistake, which is wow.
Biggest public mistake, strong words. What else?
He explained why. He said, and this is the core of it, I never thought they were going to kill and rape all these women every night, every day, week after week, year after year.
Whoa.
And then he added, it was very destructive to my soul and my personality.
Destructive to my soul. That's not just disagreeing with the script, that's visceral.
Totally. That's an artist saying, participating in this, depicting this level of brutal, often sexualized violence week after week, it's damaging me. He found it fundamentally toxic, even though it was commercially successful.
It's interesting comparing that to his stage work, which could be intense, but often focused on, like you said, intellectual precision or justice.
Yeah.
Surat, Inigo Montoya.
Right. This felt different. This was about maybe the nature of the violence, explicit, maybe gratuitous sadism beamed into homes weekly, and he just drew a hard line, said no more.
At enormous cost, presumably.
Huge cost. The steady paycheck, the residual income, the platform. He even worried he might never get to work in television again after leaving like that, under such a cloud.
And the network. Well, they weren't happy. They wrote Gideon out, replaced him, and then years later actually killed the character off in the storyline.
Yeah, pretty definitively closed that door. But, his commitment, that moral stand, it eventually led him somewhere else, to a project that actually needed his brand of intellectual complexity and ethical struggle.
Homeland. Saul Berenson.
Saul Berenson.
Yeah.
The veteran CIA guy, Carrie Matheson's mentor. That became his longest TV role, 2011 to 2020. And it felt like the perfect fit, right? Synthesizing that moral seriousness with the intellectual rigor he'd always had.
Yeah. Homeland was all about ethical gray areas, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Geopolitics, the ambiguities of counterterrorism. It wasn't the kind of black and white violence he rejected.
Exactly. It gave him complex, meaty drama rooted in ethical dilemmas. He got multiple Emmy and Golden Globe nominations for supporting actor for it.
Did he ever talk about Saul in relation to his own views?
He did. He had this great quote reflecting on Saul, saying, "The line between good and evil runs through each one of us," which perfectly captures Saul's journey, constantly navigating that murky territory, making impossible choices. It felt like a role that finally satisfied his need for meaningful, ethically complex drama.
So after leaving Criminal Minds, because it was soul-destroying, he finds this role that actually engages his soul, his intellect, his moral compass.
That seems right. And his recent TV work continues that trend. More complex, character-driven stuff on cable and streaming, like The Good Fight, playing that quirky judge Hal Wagner in 2021.
And now he's starring as that detective, Rufus Coatsworth, in Death and Other Details.
Right. It seems clear now, doesn't it? Any script he takes on probably has to pass a pretty stringent Mandy Patinkin moral litmus test first.
It really does. Which leads us to thinking about the whole person, beyond the roles.
Yeah, because his life off-screen really mirrors that same deep thinking, that same commitment we see in his career choices.
We know family is central. Marry actress and writer Catherine Grody in 1980. 2 sons, Isaac and Gideon, and that was the explicit reason he left Chicago Hope.
Right, but his personal life has also had these major health challenges, which he faced with, characteristic purpose.
He had that eye condition, keratoconus, in the mid-90s.
Yes, a degenerative thing affecting the cornea. Needed 2 corneal transplants, one in 97, one in 98. Major surgeries.
And then prostate cancer.
Diagnosed and treated in 2004, successfully, thankfully. But again, profoundly challenging life events.
But look at how he responded. He didn't just recover, he integrated it into something purposeful.
That's amazing, isn't it? Celebrating his first year cancer-free in 2005 by doing a 265-mile charity bike ride in Israel.
The Arava Institute Hazan Israel ride. With his son, Isaac.
Exactly, turning recovery into this physical challenge, a charitable act, a family bonding experience, and supporting peace and environmental work all at once. That's very Mandy Patinkin.
And his spiritual life is also really interesting, quite unique. He calls himself a Jew-boo.
Yeah, he coined that term on a Canadian radio show, Q, Jewish with a dash of Buddhist. He clarifies he's spiritual but not religious.
So it's like holding on to the deep cultural roots of Judaism, the heritage, the music.
Absolutely, but also incorporating broader spiritual ideas, maybe around compassion, mindfulness, that sort of thing, from Buddhism.
And that commitment to Jewish culture, it comes through so strongly in his work. particularly with Yiddish.
Oh, completely. We have to talk more about that album, Mama Lotion, from 1998.
Mother tongue in Yiddish, sung entirely in Yiddish.
This wasn't just, like, a novelty record. Yiddish itself, it's this fusion language, German, Hebrew, Slavic. It carries centuries of Ashkenazi Jewish history and culture, so much of which was nearly wiped out in the Holocaust.
So recording an entire album in it, it's an act of preservation, keeping that language, that memory alive.
Exactly. He wasn't just singing old standards. He was performing and globalizing this vital piece of cultural heritage. And the fact that it won a major music award in Germany, the Deutscher Schallplattenpreis.
Wow. The symbolism there is incredible.
Right. German recognition for preserving a language nearly destroyed, partly on German soil. It makes that album incredibly significant, way beyond just the music itself. It's a cultural statement.
Then more recently, there's this whole other side that emerged. The viral internet fame.
Yeah, totally unexpected. Since 2020, his son Gideon started posting these clips of Mandy and Catherine Grody, just their daily life at home, often really funny, quirky moments.
And people loved it. It showed this completely different side, right?
Yeah.
Intimate, goofy, relatable, such a contrast to, say, Saul Berenson.
Absolutely. And it kind of validated that Chicago Hope decision in a way, didn't it? Like, this is the family life he chose to protect, and it resonated.
And that viral thing actually turned into a stage show.
Yeah, in 2023, a conversation with Mandy Patinkin and Catherine Grody, with Gideon facilitating, literally bringing that authentic family dynamic onto the stage. It's fascinating.
Okay, so family, health, spirit, culture, and then activism. This feels like the culmination where his moral compass points outwards towards global issues.
Definitely. Especially after Homeland wrapped up, he became much more visibly involved.
Like traveling to Greece in 2015 to help Syrian refugees.
Right. Connecting that empathy may be explored through Saul Berenson to real-world action. He talked about wanting to help create opportunity and better systems to give freedom, justice, and dignity to humanity all over the world. It sounds like the same quest for moral order you see in his characters.
He got involved politically in the U.S., too. Partnered with Swing Left, Jewish Democratic Council of America in 2020.
And famously used his Inigo Montoya persona in an ad encouraging people to vote for Joe Biden. He's consciously leveraging his iconic roles for real-world impact.
But maybe the most powerful recent example, the one that really brings everything together, his integrity, his roots, his willingness to speak out, was his criticism of Israeli government policy.
Yeah, July 2025. He gave an interview where he was very critical of Prime Minister Netanyahu's policies during the Gaza war.
And this is significant because
here's a deeply committed American Jew, someone who celebrates Yiddish culture, who studied Talmud in Jerusalem, publicly stating that he believes those specific actions are endangering the Jewish population all over the world. That takes courage.
And he used that same kind of language, didn't he? That moral intensity?
Exactly. He called the harm to civilians in Gaza unconscionable and unthinkable. It's almost the exact same moral revulsion he expressed about Criminal Minds. Destructive to my soul, unconscionable and unthinkable.
Wow. So the line he drew back in 2007 about fictional violence.
Yeah.
It's the same ethical line he's drawing now about real-world political action.
That's the key insight, I think. It's the same core principle. Rejecting unconscionable harm, demanding justice, and he applies it consistently across his art, his family life, his health challenges, his cultural work, and his politics. That commitment to justice, whether it's for Inigo's father or for refugees or for civilians in a war zone, that seems to be the truest constant in his entire life and career. #, Al the outro.
So when you look at the whole picture, Mandy Patinkin's journey, from Evita's Che to Surat's intense focus, to Inigo's quest, to Saul Berenson's moral tightrope, it really does seem like the most consistent thread is that integrity.
Yeah, that absolute refusal to compromise his core values. He proved, really, that for him, the art has to align with the ethics. He was willing to walk away from fame, Emmys, money.
Leaving Chicago Hope for family time, leaving Criminal Minds over its violent content.
Because the work itself violated something fundamental for him. He wouldn't, as you said earlier, sell his soul for the job.
And he's managed to weave it all together, hasn't he? The spiritual side, the family, the activism. It's all part of the same coherent public self. His artistic choices seem almost secondary to his ethical framework.
Right, which leads to a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? Given his focus on justice, his activism, his willingness to critique power, maybe the highest form of art for an artist like Patinkin isn't just the performance itself, the thing they create on stage or screen.
Maybe it's also about the things they refuse to do. Those courageous, costly choices to say no. based on principle.
Exactly. What do you think? Does that willingness to sacrifice the glory, the success for personal conviction, for peace of mind, is that maybe the ultimate artistic statement for someone like him? Something to definitely think about.